There are people who post one simple selfie, one casual story, one half-second glance into the camera, and suddenly someone is checking their page every morning, every night, every time they feel lonely, curious, jealous, or obsessed. Some zodiac signs carry that kind of energy naturally. They do not even have to try. They do not beg for attention, and that is exactly why attention chases them. They become the kind of people others silently watch, reread, revisit, and imagine. Their names stay in someone's search bar. Their last online status becomes important to people who are far more emotionally invested than they should be. Their social media turns into a theater where admirers, exes, strangers, and secret competitors all gather in silence. But here is the painful twist. The people who watch them the most are often not the ones they truly want. That is the cosmic irony of these 5 signs. They attract longing without receiving fulfillment. They pull in fascination, projection, fantasy, and obsession, but not always mutual vulnerability. Many of them become magnets for people who admire from afar yet do not dare to speak honestly. Others attract those who are bold enough to watch, message, like, lurk, and even emotionally chase but are completely wrong for them. That is why these signs often feel the strange loneliness of being desired and misunderstood at the same time. Why does this happen? Because they radiate something deeply addictive. Some of them look untouchable, some seem mysterious, some appear warmer than they really are, and people mistake charisma for invitation. Some carry beauty that feels cinematic, impossible to forget after one meeting, one photo, one sentence. These signs awaken curiosity in both men and women because they leave emotional aftertaste. They are not bland. They do not pass through life unnoticed. People wonder where they are, who they are with, why they have gone silent, whether that cryptic caption meant something, whether that smile was meant for someone special. Their crushes often do watch them to yes, more often than they realize, but the crush may hesitate, stay hidden, or act confusingly, while less important admirers become louder and more persistent. And that is the hardest part of the story. The heart wants one person, while 10 others are already standing at the digital window. These are the zodiac signs most likely to be followed, checked on, and secretly thought about 24/7. Scorpio. If one sign was born to become an obsession without even trying, it is Scorpio. Scorpio does not simply attract attention. Scorpio imprints. People do not just notice them and move on. They remember the eyes, the pauses, the tone, the way they reveal almost nothing and yet somehow say everything. On social media, Scorpio has a dangerous kind of power. Even when their page is minimal, even when they post rarely, even when they vanish for days, their silence becomes louder than other people's entire personalities. That is the secret. Scorpio creates emotional tension. They make people feel there is always more beneath the surface, and human beings are addicted to unfinished stories. Their most beautiful feature is not only physical beauty, though many Scorpios have an unforgettable face, magnetic gaze, or dark elegance. Their true beauty is depth. They look like people who have survived something, understood something, or hidden something sacred. Both men and women are pulled toward that depth because it feels rare in a noisy world. Scorpio seems like the person who could ruin your peace and become your peace at the same time. That contradiction is irresistible. It makes people check their profile for clues, compare old photos to new ones, wonder who they are with, and fantasize about being the one who truly unlocks them. And yet, Scorpio often suffers from excessive attention because most people are not in love with the real Scorpio, they are in love with their own fantasy of them. That is why Scorpio gets watched by people they do not want, chased by people they do not trust, and desired by those who only want intensity, not true intimacy. What makes people think about Scorpio day and night is the feeling that they almost had a chance. Scorpio gives just enough warmth to awaken hope and just enough mystery to make that hope impossible to forget. They are the sign people replay in their minds, the one look, the one reaction, the one message that seemed deeper than it was. Scorpio does not chase attention, but attention chases Scorpio because mystery is the most powerful drug in attraction. And Scorpio is pure, elegant, dangerous mystery. Libra. Libra has one of the most misunderstood forms of magnetism in the zodiac. People think Libra attracts attention because they are pretty, charming, stylish, or socially graceful, and yes, that is true. But it goes deeper than that. Libra attracts attention because they make people feel seen, softened, and strangely hopeful. When Libra smiles, listens, reacts, or simply exists in a room or on a screen, others begin to project romantic possibility onto them. Libra has a light that feels personal, even when it is not meant that way. This is why so many people start following their stories, checking their page, and inventing emotional meaning where there may only have been kindness. Their most beautiful feature is harmony. Libra knows how to create beauty around themselves in appearance, voice, mood, aesthetic, energy. Their photos tend to look effortless even when they are not. Their page often feels like a world people want to step into. Men are drawn to Libra because they seem feminine or refined in a way that feels rare and intoxicating. Women are drawn to Libra because they radiate elegance, confidence, softness, and social intelligence. Libra has that dangerous gift of being attractive to almost everyone without being aggressive about it. They make attraction feel natural, and natural beauty is the most haunting kind, because it makes people believe they have found someone special, someone impossible to replace. But Libra suffers because their sweetness is often mistaken for permission. People begin to follow them emotionally, not just digitally. They read too much into politeness. They assume that a friendly reply means romantic interest. They become attached to a tone, a look, a vibe. Libra ends up carrying the emotional projections of people they never consciously invited in. That is why their stalkers are often persistent admirers, old friends who never got over them, exes who still compare everyone else to them, or strangers who become fascinated after a few photos and a little imagination. Libra's curse is that they attract longing faster than they attract honesty. Libra can have hundreds of eyes on them and still feel unseen by the one pair of eyes they truly want. What makes people think about Libra 24/7 is the feeling that life would become softer, prettier, more romantic in their presence. Libra makes people crave a version of love that feels aesthetic, gentle, and elevated. And once someone imagines Libra as part of their emotional world, it becomes very hard for them to let go. Leo. Leo does not merely enter the room, Leo changes the atmosphere. This sign has star energy, and social media was practically built for people like them. Even when Leo is doing something ordinary, they somehow make it look like a scene. Their confidence, expression, humor, style, and visible life force catch attention instantly. People watch Leo because Leo feels alive in a way others secretly wish they could be. They glow. They seem chosen by light itself. And that kind of radiance always creates watchers, imitators, admirers, secret rivals, and people who become obsessed with being noticed by them. Leo's most beautiful feature is presence, not just beauty, though Leo often has striking hair, strong features, expressive eyes, or a face that carries emotion like fire. Their real beauty is that they feel impossible to ignore. They project warmth, intensity, and selfhood. Both men and women are drawn to Leo because Leo looks like someone who knows their value, and confidence has a hypnotic effect on people who are still searching for their own. Leo makes others feel excitement. Their page can feel brighter, louder, more glamorous, more emotionally charged than everyone else's. Even their happiness makes people stare. Even their silence can feel theatrical. The reason Leo attracts stalker-like attention is simple. People mistake admiration for connection. They become invested in Leo from afar because Leo awakens desire, envy, curiosity, and fantasy all at once. Some want Leo romantically. Some want Leo's lifestyle. Some want Leo's approval. Some want to compete. Some want to prove they could win Leo over. This creates an audience that watches constantly, not always out of love, but out of emotional fixation. Leo often ends up with plenty of followers, viewers, and bold admirers, yet the person they actually want may remain inconsistent, proud, or hard to read. That is another Leo tragedy. They are seen by many, but chosen clearly by the few. Yes, their crush often follows them too. In many cases, Leo's crush is very aware of them, checks their updates, notices who comments, and feels more affected than they admit. But Leo attracts people who watch from ego as much as from affection, and that can blur everything. Leo may receive attention from 5 people and still feel empty if the one person they want stays emotionally distant. What makes people think about Leo nonstop is that Leo symbolizes a bigger life. Pisces. Pisces is one of the most quietly addictive signs in the entire zodiac. They do not always dominate a room the way Leo does or control emotional tension the way Scorpio does, but they leave something behind in people, a feeling, a softness, a dream. Pisces has that rare quality of making others feel they have touched something delicate and meaningful, even after a brief interaction. On social media, this becomes especially powerful. A Pisces photo, a Pisces caption, a Pisces playlist, a Pisces late night story can feel less like content and more like a mood. Someone wants to live inside. That is why people return. That is why they keep checking. That is why Pisces so often ends up with secret admirers, emotional lurkers, and people who become attached without ever fully stepping into real life. Their most beautiful feature is emotional atmosphere. Pisces does not just show beauty, they create it. There is often tenderness in their face, sadness in their smile, poetry in their silence, and longing in the way they present themselves without even realizing it. Men are drawn to Pisces because they seem soft, soulful, feminine, compassionate, and impossible to forget. Women are drawn to Pisces because they radiate depth, sensitivity, artistic energy, and emotional intelligence that feels almost healing. Pisces makes people feel something larger than attraction. They stir memory, fantasy, rescue instincts, devotion, and the dangerous desire to become important to them. They project destiny onto them. They decide that Pisces understands them, even when Pisces hardly knows they exist. The attention becomes intense because Pisces awakens tenderness. And tenderness is one of the strongest magnets in the world. People are not just curious about Pisces, they want emotional access to them. But Pisces frequently experiences the cruel imbalance of attraction. The ones they do not want become the most visible, while the one they truly desire becomes harder to read. Are they followed by their crushes too? Yes, very often. In fact, Pisces' crush may be one of the most devoted silent observers of all. The problem is that Pisces' energy inspires hesitation. Their crush may idealize them so much that they freeze, overthink, or hide behind views, likes, and quiet presence instead of direct action. So Pisces may feel surrounded and yet somehow not chosen. They receive attention, but not the attention they ache for. What makes people think about Pisces 24/7 is the sense that there is a whole emotional universe inside them. People feel that loving Pisces would not be ordinary. It would be cinematic, spiritual, transforming. They imagine tenderness, closeness, healing, tears, kisses, late-night conversations, beautiful pain, and unforgettable devotion. Pisces becomes the person someone listens to songs about, the person someone checks before sleep, the person someone cannot quite stop imagining. And that is why Pisces is so often watched, wanted, and emotionally followed from afar. Gemini. Gemini attracts attention in a completely different way, but no less powerfully. If Scorpio haunts, Libra enchants, Leo dazzles, and Pisces hypnotizes, Gemini hooks. Gemini gets inside people's minds. They say one interesting thing, post one clever caption, disappear at the wrong moment, reappear with a completely new mood, and suddenly someone is completely invested. Gemini creates movement, and movement is addictive. People follow Gemini because Gemini never feels static. There is always another layer, another surprise, another version of them just around the corner. Their energy makes others feel mentally alive, and that is one of the strongest forms of attraction there is. Their most beautiful feature is sparkle, not just physical beauty, though many Geminis have youthful charm, expressive eyes, animated faces, gorgeous smiles, or a look that changes depending on their mood. Their real beauty is mental electricity. They are fast, funny, unpredictable, curious, and impossible to summarize in one sentence. This is why Gemini so often ends up with watchers, repeat viewers, obsessive texters, and people who keep returning long after the actual connection should have ended. Gemini leaves unfinished conversations in people's minds. They make others wonder what they really meant, what they are doing now, who they are talking to, whether they were ever serious, whether they miss them, whether they think of them too. Gemini awakens a mental obsession that can become stronger than physical attraction. People replay their jokes, their voice notes, their messages, their look in photos, the slight chaos of their energy. They start following Gemini not only because they want them, but because Gemini gives them something to think about all the time. Some become obsessed with the chase. Some are simply entertained. Some confuse stimulation with love. And because Gemini often appears light, playful, and hard to hurt, people do not always realize how exhausting it is for them to be constantly watched, interpreted, and pursued by people who do not truly understand them. Does their crush follow them too? Very often, yes. Gemini's crush is frequently among the silent observers, and sometimes even the most regular one. But here is the complication. Gemini attracts so much mixed energy that they can struggle to recognize who is genuinely interested and who is just consuming their presence for excitement. Their crush may be very tuned in, very curious, very invested, but still inconsistent or slow to reveal true feelings. So Gemini ends up in that familiar painful position, desired by many, emotionally claimed by none, wondering why the one person they want seems impossible to read. What makes people think about Gemini day and night is that Gemini makes life feel less predictable. They are mentally delicious. They are the sign people check when they want a hit of surprise, fun, flirtation, wit, or possibility. Gemini turns attention into habit. One glance becomes a routine. One conversation becomes a fixation. One little connection becomes a running thought in someone's mind. That is their secret power. Gemini does not just attract people, Gemini occupies their thoughts. So which 5 zodiac signs most often find themselves in that strange, frustrating, intoxicating situation where they are being watched, checked on, followed, and silently desired by people they do not even want? Scorpio, Libra, Leo, Pisces, and Gemini. These are the signs that most often become emotional magnets in the age of social media. They each attract for different reasons, but all 5 have one thing in common: they awaken fantasy. People do not just see them, they imagine them. They build stories around them. They wonder about them in the middle of the night. They turn them into a private obsession. And here is the final truth that makes this horoscope sting a little more deeply. Yes, their crushes often do follow them too. In many cases, the person they like is watching more than they realize. But the crush may hide behind distance, pride, confusion, fear, or timing, while less important admirers become noisier, braver, and more obvious. That is why these signs can feel so unlucky in love despite being so desired. Attention is not the same as reciprocity. Visibility is not the same as intimacy. Being wanted is not the same as being chosen.